Gunther is supposedly next in line for a WWE World Title. The Firefly Fun House made a return on SmackDown last night, and a senior WWE executive has been fired. Stay tuned for the news. He's got some massively painful chops just based on the sound of it, and he's gonna chop Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns. He's gonna chop everyone, right? Yeah,
nobody should be safe.
Talking about Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion, he is in for big things. He seems to be one of the top guys in the company, even at a mid-card level with a mid-card belt. He doesn't feel mid-card, right?
No, he feels like he's elevating the IC title, and that feels special,
right? Yeah. I think when sort of Triple H took over and Gunther was the Intercontinental Champion, it felt like within the first 2-3 weeks of that little period of Triple H's first few weeks in charge, that Intercontinental title's prestige and its place on the card
just shot up.
Yeah. And it's crazy that just good booking does that. And speaking of good booking, WrestleVotes has revealed to Give Me Sport that the current Intercontinental Champion Gunther is next in line for a run with a world title. That's titillating the everything of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah, I think when I initially read this, I was like, really? Mm-hmm. Like, because I think, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it, but the amount of times you sit there as a fan and it's like, I see this, but the company will never see that. This could be huge.
Right. Well,
this could be massive for European wrestling.
Yeah, he's like one of the top independent. He's one of the top stars to come from the independent scene in Europe, and having him go from NXT with this incredibly long title reign with the NXT UK Championship to then having this incredibly long reign with the Intercontinental Championship. He's now, the longest reigning since Shelton Benjamin?
I think if he holds it till autumn, he beats Honky. And I think that would be a very good point to hit and then have him move on to a bigger title.
Well,
there was a quote in the report. The quote is, once WWE gets 2 world titles, you double the amount of people in the main event. Gunther is ready to step up. I expect by the summer to see him at the top of the card. I also wouldn't be surprised if he wins a world title. He might be next in line. And then they went on to say something about internally and how he's seen.
He seems to be very well liked backstage, which is not a surprise. We know Triple H really, really likes him, but that's not the only person, because Road Dogg and Jason Jordan have been named in the report as people who are very high on him backstage. Now, they have us fairly... they've got a good influence backstage. Jason Jordan, someone who obviously retired from the ring and is now backstage as a producer. Road Dogg, it's Triple H's best mate. They see things in Gunther. They obviously saw things when he was in NXT. He got heavily pushed specifically on the UK brand. I'm very excited. You mentioned him keeping the Intercontinental title till summer, breaking that Honky record. I could see him maybe becoming a dual champ with the world title at SummerSlam.
Oh, now that'd be interesting.
Imagine both belts.
Yeah.
And then he can do everything because he's the greatest thing in WWE right now that's not named Sammy or Cody.
He can Velcro the belts together and just still have his full range of motion for chopping.
Mega champion. And have
to take them off.
All of Imperium in the belts.
just tucked in. Yeah. And they're just swinging wildly like this the entire match.
But oh my God, imagine, I can't wait to see what goes on with it. But there's also the potential that he could win Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
That could be an option. And speaking of Money in the Bank, tickets went on sale this past week for Money in the Bank at the O2 Arena in London. And they pretty much sold out. We had a pre-sale code, WWECH. You can try it if you want.
You can try it.
Hope, fingers crossed. Don't think you're going to get any. But it's been revealed that the general sale of Money in the Bank tickets sold out within 1 minute.
Yeah. I was sat waiting, Fraser, because I'm hoping to attend personally. Yes, I worked Clash.
Yep.
And it was sort of like, it'd be nice to go with Steph and with a couple of my mates. And we were looking. It was like, we can only get combo tickets. We can't afford 2 nights in London.
We're going to have to go to
SmackDown.
Like, we're
going to have to. Maybe we can. And it was sort of like, well, we'll wait to see, because apparently they are going to release single hold tickets. So at the minute, it's just been combo purchases.
Yeah.
So they've kind of said just to keep your eyes glued, keep your alerts on. Because there will be an announcement regarding single tickets and whatever's remaining generally in the upcoming sort of weeks.
The arena sits 18,000 to 20,000 people, and at one point over 30,000 people were in the queue. And I was one of them, Sam was one of them, Adam was one of them, and I don't think any of us got a ticket.
No, I think when I joined, it was about 1:45, and then the second it kicked me through to the room, it was like there's like 8,500 people ahead of you. And I was like, this
12,000. I was like, I'm not getting tickets to this.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for the show. There's so many possible outcomes for this show, and hopefully they do more shows in the UK. Because
I mean, you've got to imagine they're going to, after the success of Clash, they drew such a monumentally large crowd for Clash that it sort of baffled me that they do. I'm never going to call it the O2, it's the Millennium Dome, that they do the Millennium Dome, which only holds 20. And it's sort of like, I get there's probably a lot of things going on. Apparently there's Motley Crue and Def Leppard at Wembley, which that's baffling in and of itself. It's sort of, I think that they wouldn't be putting a big statement show like Money in the Bank here if they weren't intending to return. But then again, they did it with SummerSlam in 92, didn't they?
And they never came back. But if you did manage to get tickets, let us know in the comments below.
To be honest, the weather's not exactly
it's
been
not
great
weather.
So for SummerSlam.
London's rather grey at times. But let us know in the comments below if you managed to get them. And if you're still trying, www.cultaholic.com/MITB.
For the lot of you.
But we're going to switch things up and talk a little bit about New Japan Pro Wrestling, because the Wrestling Observer reports that Mercedes Moné's championship win was the plan the moment she signed with New Japan and Stardom.
I think that kind of makes sense. I think that, she's such a big name as a free agent. Like, it was very shocking when Sasha Banks was no more, and it was all up in the air, and it was very confusing. And then we kind of get the big dramatic reveal, and from that point, it was like she's a made woman. Like, she's got to be.
She came across like an absolute star at that moment when she appeared at Wrestle Kingdom. But the idea behind it is that she will elevate that title. Now, it's a relatively new title. Kairi had it in the run-up to Wrestle Kingdom, and I thought that was a great choice in champion. Someone who's
for sure
well-known.
But
when you put her next to Mercedes, and Mercedes like, well, I could take that belt, and I could go into all the red carpets and all that stuff.
I could just wear it wherever I want.
You're going to put the title on Mercedes, but she's got a few dates. It's been revealed how many dates she's got left with New Japan Pro Wrestling. What's the deal, Sam?
So this is according to Meltzer from The Observer, but Mercedes Moné is apparently only on the books for 2 more dates in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and her opponents have already been decided upon. So I don't know if it's one of these kind of deals where, hey, you just kind of sign for a few matches, see how it goes, sign for a few more, see how it goes, maybe look at something more long-term. There was talks that, this could maybe push the door open gently toward Forbidden Door for her. But then there was talk from The Observer saying that, any sort of AEW deal would have to be long-term, because AEW aren't in the business of short-term deals anymore.
I mean, we say that, but we've seen so many people come in, like Jay White, Okada.
I think
Forbidden Door, it makes
featured
sense.
attraction, it makes absolute sense. And if you can put her and Kenny in the ring squaring off against each other or tagging together against another team, however you want to do it, I think that, that's guaranteed views.
I mean, we saw that tease. Kenny Omega sort of hinted at it on Twitter, but we also saw at the end of Battle in the Valley, Okada and Mercedes stood with their belts in the ring. So imagine a second, Okada and Mercedes versus Kairi and Kenny. It sounds like a good match to me. But on SmackDown last night, the Firefly Funhouse made its return.
And I just as I was getting to a point on the news yesterday where it was like, come on, Bray, it's starting to get to the point where it's kind of squat, get off the he just does more enigmatic stuff, and I'm like, he
does cool stuff.
And I'm mind blown.
Well, I think everyone was mind blown. It was kind of a weird segment, not gonna lie. I thought it was a little bit.
It was kind of like photo montage or video montage. It didn't really have a structure. It was sort of like it kind of came and went. It was almost like you were seeing bits of Funhouse, bits of Bray's mind.
It felt, and it doesn't look visually like it, but it just reminded me a lot of Twin Peaks, and that's and I feel like
it's kind of got that weird David Lynch style. Everything's really question everything. Everything's very over the top, and everything shows its true colors at all times, whether or not it understands it. We saw a game show segment. There was a cut to Bray at one point just sitting at like a production desk on a laptop, just watching back
his own from last week.
His own promo challenge to Lashley or Lesnar, going, "Oh my god," and like reacting to it. You kind of kept getting strange TV static flashes as you'd expect, and then he asks rambling rabid at one point during this news segment. There's a news and weather segment with Uncle Howdy doing the weather.
Weather by Uncle Howdy.
You see what I mean? It kind of becomes just this like wormhole of a segment.
Basically, they've gone, what can we say that makes it so ridiculous that no one will believe that it happened? So we're telling you this now. It legitimately happened.
And you're all sitting there going, they've lost it. They've absolutely look at them. But yeah, you kind of got all these things that built up to Bray asking who opened the door, and then we see a shot of the Funhouse door open, obviously like a green screen or something behind it comped in, with like loads of stuff, as if there's just this like Stargate style door to the Funhouse.
Yeah.
And then it ends with Bray asking us if we can keep a secret several times.
Yeah, and he sort of then puts on a new mask.
Yeah, an all black sort of version.
It's an all black version of the mask that he wore at Extreme Rules when he made his return to WWE. It looked like it.
It looked slightly more plasticky. It looks like it was something you could wrestle in.
Yeah, because the one
rather
that
than
was like wood.
It was like
almost.
wooden, and I imagine, you know, like if you accidentally fell over with that, it could one break, two. It looked like it took a lot of time to carve that.
Either the mask is breaking or your face is breaking.
Yeah,
so
one of the two things.
Look a bit.
Although
more
I guess
wrestling.
if you do break your orbital bone with that mask, you can just leave the mask on. It'll hold it in place.
It'll hold it in place. Well, it looked pretty cool, and I'm excited to see what Bray does next. Which for me, it's been a while since I've felt that way, because I think his rivalry with LA Knight really sort of derailed a lot of the momentum. The thing that we're going to maybe see with Bobby Lashley, I'm hopeful for, but I'm still a bit.
It feels
reserved.
like it may be a little bit of a stopgap to get us through Mania. And then I think after Mania, maybe that's when we're going to start to see more of the mystery of Uncle Howdy. Maybe we'll get a reveal. Maybe we'll get more in-ring action.
Hopefully so. We've only seen once.
I feel like, you know, we do need to be starting to funnel toward something.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit kind of... You tune in, you're not quite sure what you're going to get.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed that it sort of picks up on the road to WrestleMania. But we're going to round things off just now because a WWE executive has been fired from the company. Fightful reported yesterday that the WWE Senior Vice President of Talent Operations and Strategy, James Kimball, has been let go from the company. Now, this has been told to them that it's a HR violation, and he was terminated immediately upon this violation being revealed. So,
don't want to sit and speculate on what it could be, but with it being HR, obviously it's potentially very serious. So.
Yes, so there's not too much on that. We will, of course, let you know if there's any more details when more information breaks on that one. But that is all we have just now. We will be back later on today with more news. Go and watch all the good stuff we've got on the channel, all the stuff that happened at Elimination Chamber last week, all the good stuff this week.
And just sit and wait, because there'll be more videos later. So if you just
don't move.
Don't move from where you are.
Don't move.
Get somebody to bring you a cup of tea. Just keep refreshing the page.
You don't need the toilet. Just click refresh.
Just get a bottle.
Go on.
Way of the road.
Go on.
See you later.